I feel like there should be like background music playing. Like, how do you do this like
How do
in
you
real
pod?
life?
How do you podcast?
Yeah, how do you do this?
I
I
don't
don't know.
know. I think we just jump in.
Okay. Well, welcome to this podcast. This podcast is called, what do we call it? Juggling
Juggling
Growth.
growth.
That's our name. That's the name we went with.
Nailed
And
it.
we talk about growth related topics.
Yeah.
I'm Ashley.
Oh yeah. Anything and everything. I think related to growth, what we've experienced growing over the years, all of that. So yeah, I guess we'll jump in. I'm Chance Strode.
What do you do, Chance?
I'm a quality engineer at Huddle. I'm technically a quality engineering manager at Huddle. Forgot about the manager part. uh, yeah, so I work a lot. I work on a team, a squad. We work primarily on video, focus on video. Uh, so work as a quality engineer and then manage and help other quality engineers as well and help them get better. What about you?
I'm an iOS developer at Garmin. I started off working at Huddle, and that's how we know each other. There's probably not a whole lot I can say about my job, except that I work on iOS apps and Android apps, because, Windows, security stuff, all that fun stuff.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, I started off as a QA at Huddle and transitioned into mobile development, and then got a job at Garmin, I think like 3 months now. I'm currently living in Kansas City.
Nice. Yeah. So I guess let's jump into about this podcast before I guess we start talking about ourselves. Uh, this podcast is literally going to be, I think, roughly once a month. We decided, and it's going to be just everything. This first episode is going to be about, I think, us and our growth and a little bit about that. But every episode after that is going to be more themed, something relating to growth or to personal development or development, anything and everything related to getting better and figuring out how to get better and the struggles with it. Um, yeah.
So, how about we quickly go into like why did we choose this topic? Why do we choose this podcast theme?
hmm
Like, why is growth important to you, and why did we decide on this?
Yeah. I think obviously it's something we talk about a lot. We're always going back and forth and talking about this, but uh, I think both of us, well, me personally, I've through over the last like 8 years, have been 9 years, just growing more and more and more, and like figuring out how to get better and how to improve. So for me, it's just I guess I want to summarize and help people like not go through all the kind of BS that I went through of like all the struggles and all the things that I figured out. Uh, I just want to share that with people. I mean, I feel like, well, I do talk about growth outside of Huddle and or outside of work and inside of work, but I think this is just we both are super motivated to. We want to help people. I think beyond ourselves.
Yeah, I think we very much want to like help others, whether it's like people we know or just like sharing our experiences
Mhm.
to people we don't know and helping them through their own personal growth, personal experiences to better themselves.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, like growth became very apparent and important to me, like when I was making that transition from QA to iOS developer, and as I was going from like entry level developer to junior developer, there was like, as most people know in the tech industry, there's always something you don't know or something you need to learn, and so
Yep.
a lot of imposter syndrome comes in to play, and you just like want to learn everything.
Oh yeah. Actually, the funny thing is, I think we met each other because both of us were, or we started hanging out. I guess we met at work, but like we actually started hanging out
But
and
on the
talking.
weekend,
Yeah,
so we were actually
we were
on
both.
weekends.
Yeah, working into. I think I was. I feel like I think if I remember right, we were working on Troy and I were around working on a project, and you were like doing some sort of
I was just
programming.
hanging out because my internet at my apartment sucks.
Yeah, yeah. I guess thinking about it too, the motivation is I realized this. I just did a talk at Huddle to some of the managers, just about like managing and growing and learning development. But when I was putting that talk together, I realized when I was going through my like work history, every job that I've been in, I gravitate towards like I get into a job, I get good at it, and then I start helping people like whether I'm told to go help people or I just go help people myself. Like that's what I've ended up. So I think that's the motivation here for both of us. Just we really love doing it.
Yeah. So with that being said, should we jump into about ourselves, a little bit more about us?
Yeah, like kind of work history, background, that stuff.
Yeah, like our hobbies,
Oh yeah.
that sort of stuff, so they know more about us and like what we do.
Yep. You go first. Kick it off.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know where to start now. Like,
What do you do for fun?
what do I do for fun?
Mm-hmm.
Well, currently it's trying to work out. I'm trying to deal with quite a few injuries and just trying to like work out because that's how I deal with a lot of anxiety and stress. Is just go ham on working out, like CrossFit, running.
Yeah.
Recently got a bike to do cycling, been swimming, so like getting that bike was also like my entry into trying to hopefully do a triathlon at some point in my life.
Yeah.
I do like a lot of that stuff for fitness, and then other hobbies include like skill toys, as you can see right here. Those are all kendamas. I have like probably 50 other ones over there.
And that's not an exaggeration. I think you quite literally have 50.
Not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
I'm also probably buy like 2 more later today. There's
okay.
like a new one releasing at 5 p.m. Pacific. I also do like juggling balls, juggling clubs, juggling rings. Yeah, all those sort of skill toy stuff. I've traveled across the U.S. for certain competitions and competed for primarily kendama. Hopefully this year or next year, go to some like juggling conventions. What else do I do? A lot of creative aspect stuff like art, writing, trying to do graphic design.
Yeah.
So writing is primarily like poetry sort of stuff, and then blogging.
Yeah. So everything, just a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I like to say I have too many hobbies for my own good, and I'm never gonna be great at them because I have too many to be actually good at one.
Yeah.
So I'm just mediocre at a lot.
I feel like this is something we've talked about quite a bit of just like you trying to figure out your impossible schedule of everything.
Like, how I balance it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, balance or the myth of balance.
Just like balance in general. How do I balance myself?
Yeah. Well, nice. I don't have that many hobbies. Well, I'm a dad, so that takes up a lot of my time. Just spending time with family, taking care of my little squish, as I call them. Other than that, I would say I used to play a lot of video games. I definitely have slowed down, but actually looking at my background or my wall over here, I have an ungodly amount of video games just piled up there. So I play video games when I can sneak it in, but I think for hobbies, I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I travel. I guess I travel a lot, which leads to listening to a lot of audiobooks as well. Actually, just this year, oh God, I just did a small trip by myself to Chimney Rock and Mount Rushmore, and then prior to that, we went to my wife, Dexter, and family. We went to oh God, where'd we go? Yosemite. We went to LA. I think I went to somewhere up Northern California. I don't know. I travel a lot, which is good. But yeah, so I read a lot of books. So I think this year I've only read 14 this year, but like compared to last year,
Read 14. I've only read like 3.
Yeah. Well, I mean, compared
to read a book a month, and that's so far not going great.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how I started. Like I literally was just like, I need to read. Well, actually, this started a long time ago, but like every year, it's like picked up more and more and more. I feel like 10 years ago it was like maybe a book a year. Then fast forward, it was like maybe like 4 or 5 a year, and now last year was like 22 books. This year's only 14, but I'm purposely slowed down so I can like study the book, reread the book. I think every book that I've reread it this year so far as well, but I'm slowing down so I can like comprehend more, not just power through a bunch of books.
goes back to balancing,
Yeah.
not being able to balance everything I want to do.
Yeah. I do audiobooks too, so that like for my side, that's how I learn. I learn a lot better than like sitting down and trying to read. And when you sit down and physically have to read, like you actually have to really plan out when you're doing it, and like.
And also for our listeners, there's a joke that we have that Chance just doesn't know how to read.
Yeah.
Or just
Reading's hard.
Elementary school.
I'm educated. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why Chance doesn't read. Or that's why we say he doesn't.
Yeah.
Actually
I can't actually read. Yeah.
The joke is also he's gonna take hooked on phonics with his kid at the same time.
We're gonna learn together. But yeah, I think so. That's the majority of my time, I guess. Video games, family, and learning and growing. I also do a lot of like, kind of like tech, like teamtreehouse.com or like tech courses. But I do that. I wouldn't say it's more of a hobby. It's more of like I do that. I do projects related to what I'm doing at work because what I do switches so much. So like we had a project that involved I need to learn a lot of like SQL, and so I went and took another course to like ramp up skills. But that happens regularly. Like every month, I'm learning something not necessarily new or getting better at it. It just depends. I don't know. Yeah. So very few hobbies. I guess I'm walking / jogging now. I wouldn't call it a hobby though. It's more of a.
Yeah, I mean you're technically training for a 10K right now.
Yeah. It's every part is miserable. But it's good. It's fun.
You cut out there, but that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
There was something I had a thought of our next transition and now I lost it.
I think we're gonna just ask you, we each wrote down questions that we haven't told each other, so we're gonna be asking each other stuff. We haven't planned this, so we're gonna see how it goes.
Yeah, this is YOLO.
Yep. Do you want to kick it off?
I have a pretty good transition too. I lost it.
Do you want to kick it off?
Why do I have to start everything? You start.
No, you start by asking the question.
No.
All right, I'll ask the question. Okay, so when did you realize you needed to start, or either realize or was there a day or a moment or a time where you're just like, I need to start getting better, or I want to get better, or I enjoy growing and get better? Like, was there a specific event or time or moment that happened for you?
I don't think there was a specific exact moment, but I remember, I forgot what year it was in college, but there was just this time in my life where it was like everything I needed to do needed to be to better myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this like my internal like mottos like for better me. Every decision I needed to make, everything I needed to do was to better myself.
Yeah.
And that's, at the time I was like starting to pick up working out again, because I had been part of a rock climbing team in college, went to regular workouts, and then I sort of like hit a plateau, wasn't enjoying it, so I kind of stopped and was like not working out at all.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking back to like high school, and I was running like 4 or 5 miles a day for track, and I'm like struggling now, so I was like, okay, I need to kick into gear. And so that was like, I think where most of the growth kicked in, even though that was more for like working out, getting back into shape, but for growth, more for like personal, professional growth, I think was when I was a QA, I just had this moment while I was running. It was just like, I enjoy my job, but I don't feel like I'm being challenged.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I doing?
Yep.
Like, and also because I had a lot of school loans that we talk about a lot. So I went to school for 5.5 years. Yeah. And that includes summer school, where all 5.5 years except one summer, which is when I interned at Huddle. So you could say I have a lot of debt.
Yeah, yeah.
I went to also University of Texas at Austin, so that is also Luckily, it was in-state tuition. Otherwise, I
Oh
would be
God, I can even imagine.
home.
Right.
So with the debt piling up and sort of like what I had a degree in, which was computer science, technical background, I was like, I feel like I could challenge myself to be something better. And so that's sort of what kicked off me wanting to actually go for a developer role.
Yeah, and that was that the timing of that was like 3 or 4 years ago, right? I forgot when you transitioned. Maybe even more. Maybe 4. Well, not 4 because
Mm,
I've been at Huddle for 4 years, so
yeah,
3 years ago roughly.
yeah. The process for me to actually transition probably was like a year.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, we have such. I guess I'm gonna chime in on this because we have such different backgrounds when it comes to like work and education, well, and everything really. But for me, it was I had an exact like I had a moment. I guess some context though. So I graduated high school. I think it was '07. Graduated high school. Went to SCC, which is like a community college here in Nebraska. Did that for like 2 semesters, and I could just not stay focused. Like I wouldn't show up to class. I was a terrible student all around. So I dropped out, and I was like just working kind of definitely dead end jobs, like night stalking at a grocery store, for example, like literally a zombie job, if you will. Uh, so while doing that, I for some reason I picked up a book called No Excuses by Brian Tracy. Yeah, and I read that book, and it's about quick little summary. The book's about Brian Tracy. He's a construction worker, and then he realizes his life's not going to change unless he does something about it, and then he starts studying, gets better, and goes on, and now he's like a motivational speaker, everything else, right? But in that book, there was a line there that said he was trying to figure out what the best of the best people do in like sales when he was trying to transition into sales, and it talked about like the top 20% of people in their field study in their field for 1 to 2 hours every single day. Like they just get that's what the top of the best do, and like I just naively read that and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna do that, and that's when I started like, and I knew I wanted to do something related to like computers and tech and stuff like that. So I literally, after I read that book and after I read that like line, I started studying programming development like every day for over an hour. Like it was way more. It was obsessive for a long time, but like that for me was the defining moment of like I need to get better because otherwise I'm just gonna keep working these kind of dead end jobs over and over again. But yeah, that was like 2010 maybe. That was a long time ago.
I graduated high school in 2010.
Yeah. That's good though. That's great. I feel like a dinosaur now.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So should we just go back and forth?
Yeah, that's it.
Um, well, you already pretty much touched on my last two questions. One specific thing, I guess, is you have gotten into like journaling, like the growth planning sort of journal sort of stuff.
Yep.
About like productivity and stuff like that. So how did you get started into that, and how has that helped you?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing was Brendan Bouchard is like a I don't know, career coach, motivation guy. He's big on YouTube now. He's got I think like millions of subscribers and stuff. I think I was watching one of his videos and he talked about I want to say this was like 6 months, maybe a year ago, probably a year ago. It's been a while. He talked about just like really reflecting and reviewing because he has this whole high performance planner where like that's a lot of it, what a lot of it was. So I picked up that high performance planner, and the whole thing is like you write daily, like you have like daily goals, daily objectives, and then at the end of the day you review your day and write stuff about that down, right? And then at the end of the week you review your week and go write stuff down about that, and then like into the month you do that. So like that daily, that's what kicked me off into daily writing and just like writing stuff down, and then doing the weekly reviews and the monthly reviews. After like a month or two of that, I started just journaling in general as well, and that's what really kicked it off to start reflecting. And that's really recent because like reading all these books and doing all that stuff, like I never really sat back and like thought about it, right? Like I would read it, I would maybe think of one or two things that were great about the book, but I didn't never reflect on it. nor did I go back and reflect at that micro level of like, what did I actually do today, and like what did I do this week. And when I started doing that, that definitely like I started getting way more focused and like I guess just better, more focused on everything I was doing, because I was consciously like going back and looking at my day, realizing like, oh, I kind of wasted the whole day, like either worrying about something or not doing something, or like I don't know, like just basically working on lower priority stuff instead of the stuff I said I was going to do. So that's what I think really kicked it off, just hearing Brendon Burchard talk about it, and then I guess reading more about it and figuring it out, and then just doing it. That's the big thing of just like trying it. And it feels good. It's good.
So the planner, which you also gifted me, which honestly I haven't used.
Yeah, that's pretty typical.
It is. Like,
yeah.
Trying to remember, because also the way I unwind at night doesn't really bode well to like try and journal at night.
Oh yeah.
But now you made me forget my question. So I think that planner is what, like 3 months, 6 months long or whatever.
One planner is 3 months. Say what?
Have you finished?
Oh yeah.
Completely gone through? So do you still continue, like, did you buy a second one, or do you kind of like do your own thing now?
So what I did, I did 6 months. So it's each book is 3 months. So after the second one, after 6 months, I guess, I realized, and I haven't looked to see if he's done an app, because he should have just made an app, because basically what I did is like I wrote down the questions. At first it was in Evernote, now I use Notion for everything. So I have the questions in Notion on like a sheet I can generate daily, and I fill it out there. And then I do one for weekly. So I basically, honestly, like I copied it, but what I did to justify that is I still buy the books, like, and I give them out to people, because I do like career coaching and stuff on the side. So I'm still like buying the book for the amount of months that I'm doing it, so I don't feel like, because it does feel like I'm just like taking it, but I also need a digital digital works a lot better for me. But I still physically journal every day. I think I'm sure there's actually a bunch of science and studies around like physically writing and how that does. So like, yeah. So I basically took those questions and put it in digital format. That way I can like, right when I wake up, that's one of the first things I like. I'm usually still in bed and I'm sitting there jotting down like my plan for the day or whatever. And then I'm usually like either going to bed or about ready to go to bed when I'm like doing the review stuff at night. Sometimes I don't, because then I start thinking about stuff, and then it just kicks off a whole like, oh, I forgot to do this, and now I'm awake, and it's 2 a.m. in the morning. So I'm still doing it, like, because I don't know, I just found so much value in like reviewing and like planning and reviewing every day, and well, daily, weekly, and monthly. It just I feel more. I feel like I'm getting a lot more shit done than than I was before. Yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily need to have like a goal planning journal at this moment, but I put on my massive to-do list.
Yeah.
Is to try gratitude journaling.
Yeah, there's a bunch of apps for that too.
Just being appreciative of like what happened throughout that day.
Yeah.
And I think though that's more for my like mental health and anxiety and stress at the moment.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's a ton of stuff on my to-do list.
Yeah.
That I want to do, don't have time to do.
Yep.
Haven't prioritized.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big thing with that journal too. Like the weekly review, at least. I don't know if it does on the daily, but every week it made you sit back and be like, what are 2 or 3 good things that happened to you this week? And then like another thing was it asked, what'd you learn about someone else? Like what are 2 or 3 things you learned about other people? And doing that's that same concept too. It made me really like, instead of being hard on myself or like, oh, I didn't do anything this week, it made me really think like what good things actually did happen. Like, so changing that mindset to be more positive, and then thinking about other people too, which is like a big one. A lot of times we get wrapped up in our own stuff that's going on. We forget to think like, what did I learn about someone today, this week, or yeah. Nice. So yeah, I highly recommend that journal.
What is it called?
It's Brendon Burchard. I'm probably destroying his name. Brendon Burchard's High Performance Planner, I think, is the actual plan. If you Google it, you'll find it.
We'll also hopefully remember to put links
somewhere. Yeah.
I don't know. We haven't even planned where we're uploading this, so
right.
Somehow we'll let you know where it is, and not just Google it yourself.
It'll be referenced somewhere. Cool. All right, so I have one for you. Is there anything during college? Is there anything?
You're frozen.
Oh, oh, uh oh, uh oh.
You're,
I'm back.
oh, your
Am I back?
internet. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Is there anything in college that you wish like? So thinking back, was there anything that you wish you started doing sooner in college?
Um, First thing I think would have been finding. How do I say? Well, I think finding mobile development. I wish I had found earlier.
Like realize you like doing
Like,
it?
yeah,
Yeah.
because the tech industry is so large. Like broadly, there's front end, back end, and mobile, and then within
Yeah.
there, there's like
Subcategories of.
categories like DevOps, like HTML, CSS, React developer. There's so many things, and like I went through a phase of like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be a front end web developer. So I had like a lot of HTML, CSS, JavaScript books, and I was like, no, that's hard. CSS is hard,
Yeah.
as most front end developers will probably say.
Yep.
And then I went into like database administration, and I was like, this isn't really web develop or any sort of development. I felt like you're pretty much just designing a database and making it out. So I was like, okay, I don't think this is what I want to do. And then finally, I think it was maybe my last year in college, I took an iOS class, and I just loved it.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was like continuing like tutorials, and when I finally decided to like try for it at Huddle, it was like a lot of Udemy courses. I went to a lot of conferences, like Gray Winterlick conference.
Yep.
So I wish there was an easier way and like some form of like information about like these are all the things you can go into.
Yep.
And here are like high level overviews of like what you're gonna be doing, and like I don't know, maybe like brief tutorials on like something you'll be doing.
Yeah.
Because I found it so late, and it made it so hard to like find internships or like just find a job
Yep.
that I wanted to do.
Oh yeah. I agree. So like you basically do explore as much stuff as you can quickly.
Yeah.
And kind of I agree with that. Like I feel like I did this. I didn't go. Obviously, I didn't go. I did my few college courses were on computer programming, so I don't want to be something related to computers. But like, I went through this phase, the same phase of just like I went hard. Like 3 months, for several months, I went in and like I thought I wanted to be a PM, right, a project manager. So I went hard, studied the PMBOK, did all that for like 2 or 3 months, and then realized I don't want to do that. Thought I wanted to be a developer, like built stuff, did stuff, and then I realized like, oh, I don't like deadlines and timelines when I'm trying to build stuff, so don't want to do that. Like,
Reminds me of how much I've had to help you.
yeah,
I'm just trying to explain basic like object-oriented programming concepts to you, and you're just like, no.
no, I just want to build it my way.
And I was like, no, that's not the right way.
Exactly. But yeah, like that. I think that's a good point, though. Just like go hard. Like it's weird to say, but like spend some time exploring other jobs, roles, do research, like, but do a lot of it and do it quickly. Like, I think that's what helped me too. That when I realized like QA was a role, I just did the same thing. I did more research on it and stuff. I'm like, wait, I gotta break things all the time and still get to do text related stuff and like, yeah.
Yeah, that's also a thing. Like, I didn't know what QA was until like I started looking for internships.
Yeah. Like
So-
like dev internships, right? I'm assuming, or programming internships.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was looking for dev internships.
Yep.
And unfortunately for me, like I didn't start looking until my very last summer
Yep.
in school. And so like without that experience,
Yep.
I also wasn't working on side projects either. So without that experience, like QA was the only role for me.
Yeah.
Luckily, I enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed working for Huddle, so that
Worked out well.
that worked out well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think there's so many different roles in the tech industry, and like maybe also for me, I didn't know about programming until college. My school didn't have any sort of software development sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to be a mechanical or a civil or architectural engineer, so
Yep.
when I didn't get into that, I had to come up with a backup plan quick. So, yeah, I think though, like, just trying to find resources on like what is actually out there in the tech industry
Yeah.
for you to do, because there are so many different roles that do different things.
Oh yeah. Yeah, just explore, try things out. Do research. It sounds goofy, but yeah, just like looking in and digging in. That's it'll save you a lot of time. Specifically, you know, extra years of school.
Yeah, I've probably bought a house.
No, you quite literally could have.
I definitely could have bought a house.
But you got a fancy piece of paper. That's good, though. It's good.
Well, I don't even know where that piece of paper is.
Yes. That's amazing. All right. I think it's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah.
You've touched on a couple different books so far. Mm-hmm. What would be the one book you gift someone? Like, what is one book that's changed your life and you would gift to anyone?
Man. That is such a hard question. I think...
I stole that from a different book.
Say what?
I think I stole that from... oh God, what is
that question?
Yeah, there's this... Something mentors, and it's like a super thick book, but his premise of the question is like, you don't just ask what your favorite book is, because that's such a broad question.
Yeah.
When you focus it down into like, what is one book you would gift someone? Like that focuses on like just, I don't know.
It focuses it, yeah. That's a hard question for me because like, I feel like I tell people a lot of different books. I tell different people about different books because everyone has different stuff going on in their lives, right? But I think like ones that have had a big influence is like, there's so many. I think, okay, I'm going to specify a couple per category because I'm going to do it this way. I think like, just like a big thing people struggle with is organization, trying to figure out like how to get kind of their stuff together, or like they have a lot of stuff going on and they don't know how to like organize that. So Getting Things Done by David Allen is like, was a big book for me that like really like helped me start like organizing and like processing all the stuff that's coming into my life, right? And like all the things I wanted to do, all the things that are coming in, all that. So I'd recommend that. Honestly, a recent one is Atomic Habits for goals, and getting shit done. Because in that book, he really focused on the day-to-day stuff that I was missing, like for working out, for example, right? Like I've tried to work out multiple times and like have failed, but when I went and read that book, I realized, I was failing because I wasn't setting myself up for success at all, right? Like I didn't have gym clothes ready, I didn't have like anything laid out, I didn't plan, I didn't prepare, like any of that. So Atomic Habits by James Clear, I think, is a great one for that. And there's two really good books by Gary John Bishop called one's Unfuck Yourself. That's a really good one for like people who are struggling or kind of doing a lot of self-defeating, like they're getting in their own way, I guess is a good way to put it. So that he really explores like the mental, why you self-sabotage and why you kind of do the things you do that like stop you from doing what you want to do, basically. And his other book that I literally just read was Stop Doing That Shit. So he has great titles for books. But yeah, I mean, as far as the one that made the most impact on me, though, I'd have to say No Excuses by Brian Tracy. Like, when I read that book, that really set me off on this whole journey of, like, getting better. Like, that was the one that, like, impacted me the most. Like, I can literally go back and say, like, yeah, I read this book, and, like, I am where I am now because of that book, basically. Now I read a ton of stuff in between there, like, but yeah, I think that's the one that's impacted me the most. But what I would gift someone, it all just depends on, like, what kind of stuff they have going on in their life or what they're trying to get better at or what they want to do. Those 4 books that I just listed are ones I highly recommend.
Again, we're going to have to link them somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
You're just going to have to Google it.
Yep. We can link them. I think I have links to all these somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a tough question. Actually, someone asked when I did the management talk. Someone asked me that basically that same question. That was more or less my same answer of like, I. It's not hard to suggest books, but you got to be careful because like, you don't have to be careful. You just have to be aware that like, just because a book impacted you doesn't mean like someone with a different filter or mindset is gonna like can perceive it so completely different, right?
Yeah, we all get motivated differently.
Yeah.
And so what motivated you isn't necessarily going to motivate someone else.
Yeah. Yep. And
I
also,
think there was also a different talk. What is that talk that you shared with me? That the guy who owns Quest. What is his?
oh yeah.
What's the show called?
I've only watched like 40
Something
episodes. I can't. Impact Theory.
Impact Theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there was something a speaker on there, and he said, "It's not what we try. We don't try and give answers. We try and help them ask better questions."
Yeah.
Is how we should approach helping someone.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So
That's like. So doing like kind of career coaching stuff on the side. That's so, and just learning about coaching in general. I think that's been a big thing that I've realized too. Just like, you can't just tell people what to do. It doesn't work. Like, you really have to help people help themselves, basically. Like, you have to get people to start asking themselves questions, basically.
yeah. And I think when we were chatting about like when I was going through that phase of like trying to help other people, I think we chatted about that. I was like,
yeah, you asked me a lot, actually. Yeah.
I was like, how do I motivate them? Like, I'm just like, why do you not want to do this?
Yeah.
And they just weren't
doing anything or doing what they.
Yeah, and I was just like, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And I just couldn't understand like that disconnect of like why would you not want to better yourself? This is going to help you in the long run, and I just don't understand why you're not. Just do it.
Yep. Yeah. It's because we actually did talk a lot about that. I remember that exact time. You either text me or appeared me or whatever, or Slack me like that question.
Not here anymore.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah. But yeah, that's just such a big thing of like when you take. I would say we're highly motivated, but we had to get there, right? Like, we had to get to the point where we're really motivated, and like when you spend a lot of time getting better and seeing the results, and you're like, oh, whatever I'm doing is working. Like, everyone needs to be doing this, and then you go tell people about it, and they're like, I don't like. People just have this natural like filter, or like not even filter, just people go through shit, and they have their own like worldview and how they see things, right? Just because like something's working for you doesn't mean people are just gonna be like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna go do that. It's people have to come to that conclusion themselves of like, I need to change, and then like, what do I do to actually change, and then go do it. Like, it definitely doesn't work just telling people.
Oh, I mean, I can't just be like, just go do it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that's that. There's a lot of like books and articles and studies that everyone talks about, like the growth, developing the growth mindset. That's really what that is. Like, a lot of people the average person has like the fixed mindset, right? Like, I'm just gonna do what I think I need to do, and that's it. And once I hit a certain age or a certain time, I can't get better. I can't do anything, or like, I'm no longer in school, so I shouldn't be studying. Like that. That's a common mindset, and like, getting people to break that mindset's super hard in my experience, but really rewarding when they actually do it. But yeah. All right, is it my turn?
Yeah.
Oh, this is it's basically the same question back to you. It's kind of cheating, but like, was there a book or a video or an article or a speaker or person or anything that like kind of really like impacted you, meaning like growth wise or development wise, or I don't know, something that just really sticks out?
I think most recently, I think there was a book you gifted me, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth.
Oh yeah, yep, by John Maxwell.
Really, there's a lot of like quotes in there, and just topics in there. It's just like, this is
good.
What I'm doing, or I need to be doing. Like,
yep.
This makes sense.
Yep.
So yeah, that was a really good book as of recently. I mean, I'm still reading through a lot of books, and I have a lot of books on my to-do list and a lot of books on the shelf that are unread that
Yeah.
I really want to read.
Yep.
Um,
It's got to
like,
prioritize it and do it.
yeah, I have what you just talked about, Unfuck Yourself,
Yep.
Grit by Angela Duckworth.
Yep.
She also has a lot of TED Talks that I don't think I've watched yet. Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Find Your Why, which is like a more interactive book for the accompanying book.
Yeah.
But yeah, as of recently, probably the 15 Valuable Laws of Growth.
That's such a good one.
Yeah. And then I think there's just a whole lot of speakers, because I actually watched quite a bit of TED Talks, and then I started getting into like that Impact Theory
Yep.
YouTube channel, and so like I just watch a ton of those and take notes on them, and they're like super awesome speakers, and I think they're just essentially great synopsis of what a lot of their books are about.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a ton of
all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say one sort of book and quote that I've lived by since I started trying to grow. I think it's in the book called The Art of Racing in the Rain, which is actually
I read
not
that.
like a personal growth book at all. It's about a story about a dog. You're in the perspective of this dog going through life. And the quote in there is like, that which we manifest is before us. It is our choices and our failures. Our choices and our failures are brought on by none other than ourselves. Like whether through intention or intention or something, it is brought on by ourselves.
Yep.
Essentially, like, we are in control of our success and our failures.
Yeah.
And that quote in that book was repeated so many times, and I was like, okay, this must be important, and I wrote it down.
Yeah.
And I think finally when I started like to work out a lot in college, when we were just talking about that scenario, I was like, this is what it means. It's like, if I want to be fit, no one else can force me to be fit
Yeah.
and be healthy. Like, it
Yep.
has to be my choice to do this.
Yep. That's so like
no matter how much other people motivate me to try and do it, like in the end, it is my decision.
Yeah.
If I want to do it or not.
Yeah, it's so like when you realize that, and that's so huge. Like when people realize that, that's when you see huge change. I know for me personally, like when I realized it wasn't obviously I didn't read that book. I have no idea like what that book is.
Look up right now because
But when I realized that, I realized that too. Like I can't. There's got to be a book, but I don't remember what book it was. But like when you realize that full ownership of like no one, like literally everything in your life the way it is because of you. Like no one else. Like it's not the government. It's not your job. It's not like you are where you are because of you. And when you realize that and take on, like, yes, there is things that influence can change and can impact that, but like for the most part, everything that has happened or not that's happened, like you are where you are because of you.
Yeah, that is like essentially that entire.
Yeah.
So it's The Art of Racing in the Rain by Garth Stein. I'm trying to find the exact quote.
Yeah.
So many different links.
Oh, actually, it might be in the. Now that I'm thinking about it, in "Quit Doing That Shit" or whatever it is by Gary John Bishop. That in his other book, I think he literally talks about it, or there's a quote of like, he talks about looking in like your future self and what you want it to be, and then like working backwards, right? But there's a statement there that he says of just like, what you're doing today, like who you want to be and what you're doing today are two different people. So you have to start changing like you have to start doing what you want your future you to be doing to get to that spot, if that makes sense. He says it more elegantly, but basically like if you want to be in a higher paying job or whatever, like you have to be the person who's learning those skills and developing those skills to get into that job or whatever the case is, right? Like that's just one example I can think of, but that for me really put in perspective of like you have to be doing the things you want your future, like where you see your future, you have to be doing the things that actually are going to get you there, which sounds goofy, but like a lot of people don't make that correlation or connection.
I think related on that, there was another like TED Talk or Impact Theory video, and it was like in the current job you're at now,
Mm-hmm.
pick someone in there that's 5 years your senior, 10 years your senior.
Yep.
And if you don't want to be where they're at in 5 years, 10 years, then it's up to you to change that.
Yep.
And I think that's like been the best way of trying to like picture, like especially for me, like where I want to be in 5 or 10 years.
Yep.
Yeah, the quote, I found the quote. So again, it's The Art of Raising the Rain by Garth Stein, and it's, that which we manifest is before us. We are the creators of our own destiny. Be it through intention or ignorance, our success and our failures have been brought on by none other than ourselves.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think it's just so mind blowing to me. And like even now, I read this book and I was like, I don't understand this quote, but it's mentioned a lot, so it must be important. So I'll hold on to it.
Yeah.
And then a few years down the line, I'm just like, this is what it means.
Yeah. You, on that note, you write down. I want to call us out because I've seen you, or at least I think I've seen you do this. Like you actually like physically have a book of quotes, right? Things that have impacted you. You write that down. Like, and that's all that's in that book or notebook.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Important quotes that I live by.
Yeah.
Right over here. I haven't written in it in a while. I'll sometimes like write it in my like Apple Notes, and then I'll transfer to this like little journal here.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just like there's other stuff in here, but there is one of the journals is just quotes.
Nice. Well, cool. I think we're at 50 minutes.
I remember what the transition is I wanted to make like 30 minutes ago. I didn't end on that. So, what are you currently working through growth related?
Ooh.
And then maybe on our next episode we can hopefully update people on like if we've completed that goal, that task.
Yeah. Oh, I think physically just like getting back in shape, or getting in shape, I think in general. So like training for that 10K, working on that, like, yes, that's a physical thing, like getting healthy, but there's a lot of just like mental, like literally mentally pushing myself to go work out and not making excuses and doing it no matter what. Like a good example actually is yesterday. So yesterday I woke up late, we went and watched the football game, like went out to a bar with friends, did that. And then I literally we went to Lincoln, came back, so I literally had to go get I live like south, right? So I had to go out of my way to get my running shoes, go back, and when everyone was kind of hanging out at our friend's house, I literally went, and I was like, I gotta go run. Like I know I'm not gonna do this later. So I was gone for an hour, not run, fast walking. Fast being in quotes too. I was walking, so I literally had to mentally just be like, I don't care what everyone else is doing. I'm just gonna go do this because I need to do it, right? And so I think that's what I'm working on now, just like solidifying in my head that I'm gonna like one, do this 10K, but two, just start like making sure I'm making working out and being healthy a priority and not just like I'll do it later or push it back or like so that's the biggest thing that I think I'm working on, like growth wise, both mentally and physically. Same question to you then.
I think the biggest one right now is I have been reading Start With Why by Simon Sinek for a couple months now, and I haven't finished it. I've been like slowly chipping away at it. I think a few weeks ago I made a really good dent in it because of the holidays, so hopefully we're recording this the weekend of Labor Day.
Yeah.
Labor Day, right? Yeah. Yep. So hopefully...
hopefully finish in a month.
Yeah, tomorrow, which is Labor Day, I can actually make another good dent in that.
Yeah.
But on a smaller note, I've been working on a blog post. I used to blog quite a bit when I was working at Huddle, and with the job transition and the move, I've kind of like died down on that. And so I have a very small like tutorial-esque blog drafted up, and hopefully that will be posted at some point before the next podcast.
Well, it's recorded, so
we'll find out.
Yeah, that's good though. Yeah, I think like that whole like facing. I'm gonna go on a tangent here, but like hearing that quote of I can't remember where I heard it, but like there's no such thing as you don't have enough time, right? Like, and this is hard for me, because I catch myself saying this all the time, like, oh, I don't have time, I'll do it later, blah blah blah. But like when you start changing the word time with literally priority, like, and actually think about that, like, so basically me not working out, not being like making health a priority, I'm literally just saying like, I don't want to be healthy. It's not a priority for me, right? Like, and when you say it like that, you just you realize how like, oh, it sounds terrible, right? Like,
Yeah.
well, for me personally, I feel like that it sounds terrible, but that's one thing that really like I've been focusing on too, as of the last like 3 weeks of like, when I say I don't have time, like stopping and be like, wait, I'm saying it's not a priority. Why is it not a priority? And like thinking through it
Yeah.
that way.
I think 2 years ago, I think it's been 2 years, I did at Huddle's like dev conference, I actually like talked about personal growth, and that was like
Oh yeah, yeah,
the
yep,
talking points was like, you need to change your mindset from like, it's not about making or it being enough time, having enough time. It's about changing your priorities.
yep,
And I do have a blog post somewhere floating around about like just a brief summary of that discussion, and I can share it in the links if people want to read that.
yeah. It's what's the site where all the blog posts are? I forgot what it is.
It's on Medium.
Medium. That's it. Yeah,
I've changed to my personal website.
yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I don't know if you. Well, we can talk about this offline.
Yep.
Most of my blog posts now will be on my personal site, which I believe is ashleyng.info.
Yep. I think it is. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe on my own website.
Well, cool. So I think, yeah, I think that's it for this. But like, for what's next though, like I said, this first episode was just, I think, us obviously talking, getting to know each other, and letting other people get to know us. But like, now going forward, we're gonna have more, I think, specific topics relating to growth, obviously. So we'll talk more about those topics in what's the word I'm looking for? In depth. Going forward now. So
Yeah. Also, if any of our 5 listeners are interested in a topic they want us to discuss, feel free to share it with us, and we can like discuss those experiences or those topics.
Yep. Cool. Well, if you've listened this far, thanks for listening. Have a great month until you hear back from us.